Welcome back to the final credits. On today's show, we'll be talking a little bit about Bob Iger and a couple of things that he may or may not have canceled. We're going to talk about a little bit about Hollywood's budget problems, and we're also going to give you our take on Dune Part 2. Joining us today, we got Joey Pancakes.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Johnny 64.
Keep me away from that popcorn bucket.
Oh, God.
And me, Mike Spade. Why, you don't like the popcorn bucket?
We'll talk about it later.
So, guys, the first thing we're going to be talking about is our buddy Bob Iger, who, if nobody knows, is the CEO of Disney, who owns Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between that. So we got a couple of words that we heard about what he said in the news lately. So, Johnny, take it away.
Yeah, so he was in an interview with Morgan Stanley recently, talking business and whatnot, and he was talking about potential audience fatigue, that's possibly been plaguing their Marvel movies as of late. As we all know, they haven't been performing that well. And he gave a really interesting quote here so he said, "You have to kill things you no longer believe in. That's not easy in this business because either you've gotten started, you have some sunk costs, or it's a relationship with either your employees or with the creative community," Iger said. "It's not an easy thing, but you have to make those tough calls. We've actually made those tough calls, and this is where it gets interesting. We've not been that public about it, but we've killed a few projects already that we just didn't feel were strong enough." That casts a very wide net, but he's talking specifically here about Marvel Studios' current efforts. So, things that we know are on the way. I think that, and we definitely know that things are on the way that haven't been, too successful in their, from what we've heard behind the scenes in their production, like Armor Wars. What's been going on with that?
Ironheart.
I was just thinking Ironheart too. We haven't heard anything about that. And
Blade.
If that ends up going underneath the bus, I will be so disappointed. But
I don't think so. I think they're going to keep Blade. I don't think there's no way they're going to cancel.
Well, we don't know if this is just exclusively Marvel. What Star Wars projects were supposedly.
Well, they stopped. What was it? Oh no, this was before Iger. The Rogue Squadron or whatever it was for Star Wars.
with Bob Chapek.
Yeah, but I think Bob Chapek turned that one, closed that one out. But the point is that are these big budget things that they already told us about, or is this thing just something that somebody came up 6 months ago and said, "Hey, let's do a movie about, I don't know, Bob's cat."
Yeah, make him a superhero. Yeah,
Right.
That's why I was saying it casts a really wide net because it can mean anything between something that they were just discussing last week to something that they announced to the public years ago and just hasn't gotten off the runway yet, and they're spending too much money off of it, or maybe there's too many rewrites or reshoots that's just ballooning the budget,
Right.
way beyond what Iger feels comfortable with, and he says, "Guys, either this is going to work or it's not. Let's just can it because by now it's just it's a detriment to whatever our plans are."
And depending on the project, we don't know what phase or how far along was it. Was it just in pre-production where it's where it's more of an easier decision? Was the project completely done? Similar to what happened with Batgirl and over at Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
When they were more public about the canceling of certain projects, polarizing with Batgirl, the animated film that they tried to shop around, but nobody wanted to take it.
Wile E.
Coyote versus
Acme.
Acme, which was funny enough written by James Gunn, even though he's running the DC.
Was it really?
I believe so.
No wonder why there's such a fan base behind that movie to come out. But yeah, I mean, the thing is though, it makes sense because he knows he needed to just scale back the overall quantity of these movies and TV shows because that's just been the number one thing bringing Marvel Studios down lately. It's just there's just too much stuff, and that's what brought the Marvels down. That people felt the need they have to watch 3 other shows just to be consistent with what's going on in that one movie. So I think Bob Iger is okay, yeah, we definitely need to bring things back to a place where if you just watch one movie, you just need to watch that one movie and understand what's going on. Maybe there's some extra context that could be a bonus to you if you've watched other movies, but this is what worked in the first 3 phases, and we need to bring things back to that. So It's just the question of who are the casualties of that.
And this is the tough side. This is the tough side of the business in the movie business. That they have to make it, but it definitely primarily has to be financial. Look at the down year they had in 2023. It wasn't hitting the usual goals. You know, of course, the Marvel films are at the center of that, along with Indiana Jones. They've with Disney standards, they thought that underperformed.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember too. It's not just Marvel that's plaguing Disney right now. It's a lot of stuff, especially that things that came out last year, like the movie Wish, which was supposed to be like their big Disney princess movie that was supposed to celebrate like the 100th anniversary,
and it bombed
and that
horribly.
completely bombed. So like, it's not just Marvel, but like Marvel, he knows where the problem, like the source of the problem is, and he's tackling that head on. So, but again, it comes down to who is what we're not going to end up seeing that we might already know about.
And prior to this, he has said in other places prior to this conference that it should be more. This is more Marvel related, but more about the quality instead of the quantity. That's why they was. Again, that's a whole another subject, but.
Well, it goes hand in hand. I mean, because if you're not overwhelming yourself with too many projects, you have more time to fine tune the projects you are working on. So like. He knows that one leads to the other.
Or instead of having 10 projects trying to find 10 different directors for it, okay, you got 3 projects, and you can pick and choose whatever director you want to do a better a film, right? So for argument's sakes, let's say Johnny was a great horror director, right? So he would be great for Blade, right? And you're a great comedic director, but he already has you set for Blade. So what happens now? Because it's so convoluted with all these directors in this film, in that film, in this film, in that film, it's like you don't have easy pickings on the directors. So it kind of makes sense why they would scale back. So that way it's less of a burden. And plus, you don't have to, you lessen the work that the writers have to do, because sometimes some writers who are on one movie are going to be in another movie,
and give it some time. The unnamed sources from those projects, like a writer or producer, will not be quoted by name, but it'll leak out the names of these projects that were killed, where they stood in the developmental process, or how close it was to being done, or was something totally done and completely shelved.
right?
Yeah, and one thing I think to take comfort in too is that we have to remember that Kevin Feige is now holding the reins once again as like the main showrunner of all these movies and shows. That he has the power, that control that he had during the first 3 phases that made them work so well. So I'm sure Iger is consulting with him and making sure like the ones that need to get canceled are definitely the correct ones to get canceled. So in Kevin Feige we trust, but it's just it's just that question that. Are there things that could have been that we don't even know about? Or are there things that are going to kind of sideswipe us with what we're already expecting?
And did he tip his hand too much by saying that little bit of information? But now everyone's going to keep asking him like what projects were canceled by you guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
especially for a polarizing company like Disney and their well-known CEO here with Bob Iger.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Feige's definitely going to start getting questions whenever he's out in public. Like, is Ironheart still on the way? Is we getting Armor Wars? Like, what's going on? He's gonna be giving us the typical non-answers. Like, I can't say anything yet. Like, if I knew, then it's whatever Disney wants. He'll dance his way around the questions.
I'm personally waiting on Armor Wars, which was originally supposed to be a limited series, and then the project got switched to a movie. But we haven't heard anything.
But you guys brought up Ironheart. Do people really want an Ironheart movie?
No. It would have been a TV show.
Regardless.
It is a TV show, and it's been done for over a year, I believe, but we don't have a release date for it.
Oh, has it been done?
I think it's been done.
Huh. Well, they need to give us some news on it then, because then they'd really just be chucking something into the trash.
Look, I don't think what I think that Bob is trying to do, and I call him Bob because we're on a friendly basis.
Of course.
Yeah. Guys, the Marvels had a $270 million budget. So far, it's only made less than $210 million at the movie theaters, right? The budget, like the box office for that movie sucks. Let's be real about it. right? So they've lost what 70, 60,000, 60,000. He wishes $60 million. That's not for a big company. Sure, it's a small number, but if you lost 60 million here, 60 million there, 60 million in the other movie, we're talking about lots of money that's being just thrown down the waste. And for what? So maybe what he's doing is better. Let's do more quality than we do quantity.
Yeah. I mean, I think that goes to show that there's like a bigger issue with Hollywood in general, and he's
Right.
just one of the Hollywood moguls that is dealing with it right now. But
Which is going to bring up our next topic. But for you guys, tell us, what do you guys think? Do you think Bob is doing the right thing? Do you think that just scrap it and start all over again? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section down below. So, guys, bringing up the next topic. The next topic is how is it that Hollywood today is spending their money, right? So the question is, do you think that they're over budgeting these movies? And because of that, we're expecting movies to hit the $1 billion mark in order for them to, make some money at the theaters?
I think so like 2023, I think we've seen like the issue come to a head where a lot of well-known names, a lot of well-known movie series with traditionally high budgets have just been underperforming to legit bombing at the box office. You mentioned the Marvels. We saw it with Quantumania with Marvel Studios. Other movies like Fast X, Indiana Jones, like all of those movies underperformed. Actually, I don't know. I think Fast X might have done decently, but people still think it's people think that the critical reception is never great for the Fast movies, but people still go out to watch them anyway.
Right.
Regardless.
Right. But for example, right, since you brought up Fast X had a budget of, I think, $340 million.
Not surprising.
Right. $340 million for one movie, and yet it only made like $700 million at the box office.
Only made.
Right, only made. But the point is that they spent so much money, they needed to make close to $1 billion in order for them to, quote unquote, break even, right?
So they probably expected that $1 billion mark and underperform, and they're
right. For them, it underperformed because it didn't hit $1 billion. They didn't make 3 times their money or anything to that extent. So the question is, like, look, I'll give you guys an example, right? A great movie that came out 4 years ago in 2020 was Invisible Man. Right. So Invisible Man was budgeted at $7 million. You guys know what it made at the box office?
Please tell us, Spade.
$145 million. Now that is pure profit because it made its money 10 times over, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not factoring in marketing costs because that's a totally different budget. So another example, Megan had a budget of $12 million and it made $181 million. Let's do something more recent. I don't know. We saw a movie last year called Exorcist Believer. And guess what?
We hated that movie.
We hated that movie, but listen, the budget was $30 million and it made $137 million. Even let's just say that they made a marketing budget of $50 million for that movie, which I doubt it because they didn't make that much. They didn't spend that much on that marketing. But that would have made it at what? $80 million in total. It made 137. It made its money back and then some. Right? How about a great movie that I know me and Johnny 64 love? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Right? Had a estimated budget between $14 to $25 million, and it made $144 million.
Oh,
I'm surprised the budget was that low for it because I felt like there was like a lot of effects and costume design going on.
Exactly.
And everything.
Here's another one that's going to blow your mind. The Whale. The Whale was budgeted at $3 million. And guess what? It's the only movie that I have on this list that made less than $100 million, but it made $58 million. But again, a $3 million budget making $58 million,
Right.
still made 10 times its money.
Well, that movie was solely based on the emotional performance of Brendan Fraser, and it was like his big comeback to Hollywood. So that generated that huge number that you just said.
Right, but it still made its money, right?
In
The
a huge
story
way.
was great. And
Right.
guess what? It was nominated for how many awards?
He won Best Oscar.
So realistically, what does that tell us?
That-
What do we learn from this? It's all
Ultimate-
about the storyline, right?
Ultimately, good storytelling. Right, the best cream rises. Butchering the
Cream of the
saying.
crop?
Cream of the crop. Yes.
Right. So what is that? So we know that. What is it like? The screenwriters need to make a better movie.
I think it's just like how like they're like how they allocate the budget. It's like, maybe like you have to have $200 million to make this movie, but maybe a bigger portion of it should be going towards, maybe the casting or the people who are hiring the writers and like the writers themselves, like the quality that they put out, all that stuff. I think more needs to be put into that rather than just movies with crazy effects and CGI and things like that. Because I think that was a common thread in a lot of the 2023 flops that we saw is just a lot of spectacle, a lot of like movies that seem to be like anchoring itself like, oh, like we're Marvel, of course it's going to do well, like, or
Right.
it's Indiana Jones, it's a classic name, of course it's going to do well, but then they don't, and then you got big name studios like Warner Brothers and Disney scratching their heads saying, how could this have possibly happened? You just
Where did we go wrong?
Like, was it the pandemic? Like, people just don't want to go out to the theaters anymore? No, people, like, as we saw with, like, Oppenheimer and Barbie, like, Barbenheimer, like, people are more than willing to go back to the theater if they have a good reason to go there. Like, if it's a great movie and people are talking about it and there's buzz around it and it's getting all these great reviews and it's, and you watch it and it actually lives up to the expectations, it's going to get all the money that it deserves. But, like, in the case of The Flash, I'll give you some numbers myself right now. I famously hate the Flash just because of all the horrible multiverse shit that it threw at
Marvel
us.
CGI too.
But it had a budget of like around $200 million, and it only brought back worldwide $266 million.
Holy shit!
Right.
So and that was like the big send off for Warner Brothers for the DCEU. And what did they get for it? Nothing. Just like everything else in the DCEU.
They literally got nothing. But see, that's the thing, though. That's where, that's where the idea came from.
And that movie had George Clooney in it.
Look, again, it brings up the fact that you have all this money allocated to a movie, but does it need all that money? Like The Flash, you said how much was it?
It's like $200 million to make.
$200 million to make. But people as us who saw the movie, we're still wondering, where in God's green earth was that money spent? Because the visuals, for lack of a better term, were garbage, right?
Yeah.
They weren't that great. It was very choppy. The CGI was horrible. So where was that money spent? On reshoots?
Here's a better example. Something more recent that we watched, Argyle.
Okay.
Oh boy.
A big Apple film, right? Apple has all the money in the world. They don't care what they put into it, and clearly that was the case because that was another $200 million movie, and worldwide it only made $92 million.
Gee.
Not even half. So, and the thing with that is that it wasn't even supposed to be $200 million. Apple, like, it was supposed to be, it was like the hard production cost was $90 million. Apple put in like whatever amount of money it did to get the rights to distribute, the movie, like underneath the Apple TV Plus name or whatever, and then that ballooned it to $200 million, and then it only even if that wasn't the case, it only made $92 million worldwide anyway.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah. So, but like, what was the problem with that movie? It just was horribly written. It was a mess, And on top of that, like the marketing, I thought was shit for it. I feel like not that many people knew about it, and the people who did know about it thought like it was going to be like starring Henry Cavill and all that stuff. And we have a whole review about why it sucked, but it's just like these studios I think they just got so big headed with like the numbers they used to make with these well-known names. And they're like, we're just going to pour all of our money into like Marvel and pour all of our money into these characters that everybody knows and loves for decades. And we can do whatever we want. And the movie can be as bad as it needs, but people are still going to show up for it. And then they don't. And then it's like, what did you expect to happen?
That's insulting the intelligence of the audience. But speaking of big names that actually did well, but had a low budget and did really well at the box office, Godzilla -1. We raved about it back in December. It was
That's
definitely
like the poster child
yeah.
for this
I don't know if
discussion,
it
in my
was.
opinion.
I don't know if it was special circumstances since the Japanese audience, but it captivated here in the States as well. But I think that's the ultimate prime example of what you're trying to say, Spade, with the budget and investing in the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, look, you guys saw Godzilla -1. I have not yet, which I'm working
Shame.
on it, guys. I'm working on it.
Shame.
But the point is, that movie was made $15 million, $17 million, something to that extent.
Yeah.
And it's made over $100 million. So you can have a great visually and screen written movie, and you don't need to spend that much money.
Yeah.
Look,
you
talk
need
to Blumhouse. Blumhouse could literally go into his couch, right? Stick his hand in there. Whatever change comes out, he can make a great movie out of it. I don't know how he does it. Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's, right? Another Blumhouse production, right?
Right.
It cost $20 million to make that movie, and they made I think it made almost $300 million.
all the kiddies came out to watch that movie. All the
And
all the FNAF kids.
But see, that's the thing, though. It also was day and day release, right? You could have stayed at home and watched it, or went to the theaters and watched it. And what happened? People came out in droves to go see it in the theaters.
Yeah.
I understand it's a franchise that had a loyal following.
Co-following with the video game franchise.
Right. But at the same time, though, if it was a shitty-ass movie, well, nobody would have went and saw it.
Yeah.
You know, people who did not know of the franchise went and saw it and said, okay, it's not the greatest movie ever, but I enjoyed watching it, right? So these things can be done. I just think that Hollywood is just like, you know what? Just make it rain, throw money. We need a movie? How much do you need to make this movie? And just, okay, cool, do it.
You know, but between that and like how much they missed the mark on like how they thought streaming services were going to be like the new norm for, you know, like making money off of movies. You know, they got spoiled by the pandemic, and then once the pandemic stopped being a thing as much, like they really like fell on their asses with, you know, like the numbers that came after that, because people stopped streaming as much, and then once again they're just like left like scratching their heads like, how could this have possibly like they really are. It really is a testament to like how out of touch these executives can be. Like if you hear them talk sometimes, like they like the quote that I was reading before, and like when we were talking about Bob Iger, like there was a quote from that same article. Like basically, like they said, like one of the studio execs, you know, that they were talking about like how these budgets are like not adding up to like what the returns are, and it's just like, you know, like we've been and the guys were saying like we've been completely blindsided by you know, the audience, that like it must be like this consumer
Fatigue.
behavior or whatever, and it's like, no, it's not that. People just want to see good movies, and you're just not making good movies. This is not art. This is no longer something that's like there's no passion behind it anymore. You're making products, and then, you know, when you try to put them on a conveyor belt and ship them out,
Cookie cutter.
they're all
Yep.
cookie cutter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
You nailed it, Pancakes. Cookie cutter. That's what it is.
exactly.
And it's like copy paste. Here we go. Here's another movie. Dude, that movie seems similarly familiar to another movie that came out a year ago. Like, why? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So, everyone, what do you guys think? Let us know. Do you think that Hollywood is just absurdly just throwing money out into the wild and saying, hey, let's make a movie. Let's see how good we could do this? Or do you think that they're justified by spending that much money? Let us know in the comment section down below. All right, guys, this is it. Creme de la creme. This is
Dune time.
probably my one favorite movie of this year, and it's this bad boy right here. So far, I mean, we're only in March, but still. Dune, guys, we saw Dune. What do you guys think?
So I only just got into Dune last week, just so I could prepare myself for this movie. The first movie did not hook me that much. I respected the, you know, production marvel that it was and everything. It looked great. The writing was obviously awesome. It's just like I could tell it's a movie that, like, even if you're a Star Wars fan, this might not be for you, because it's really, Dune is a really hardcore sci-fi series with like deep lore and characters like left and right and everything. So I remember leaving the first movie after I streamed, but just thinking like, I was expecting to be hooked more, but I see why, you know, maybe some people might be more into it than others. Dune Part 2, however, I came out of that theater excited for Part 3. I was like, I feel like there was like just any type of scene that you could think of from like a AAA high octane high budget movie was in this movie. You know,
I agree.
I said during the first impression that like there was just so much movie in this movie because like it was there was like.
Make that the title of this episode.
Yeah, you know, like there was like, you know, like perfectly choreographed fight scenes. There was like a Coliseum gladiator scene. There's like, you know, like fights in the sky, things like that. It was just all like dramatic stuff. It was just everything. It had everything.
To go back to the previous topic, it was $190 million budget.
No
but
way.
you saw every single dollar on that screen.
Yeah.
$190 million. And
I'm
guess
shocked.
what? It was a visual masterpiece.
I'm shocked.
It really was.
There was
all it
not
was.
one scene when you're like, oh, that didn't look good, or anything to that extent. You really saw it, and you're like, wow, I really feel like I'm in this place.
Is it really possible that we saw the worst movie? Keep in mind, it's still early in the year, and we have a long way to go with other bangers and heavy hitters that are coming. But is it possible that we saw the worst movie of the year and the best movie of the year a week apart?
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean,
you're right.
other movies that are coming out this year, I can't picture them topping Dune 2. I mean, this is going to be like the Academy Award heavy hitter. I think it's going to be like the Everything Everywhere All at Once type of situation where it's just going to be eating up Oscars like nobody's business across a bunch of categories.
Spade has something interesting.
I agree with you. And what did I say when we got out of the theater? I was like, if this movie had originally come out October 20th of 2023, when it was supposed to come out, Oppenheimer would be nothing.
I wouldn't say nothing, but another movie in its category would have been completely
possibly.
kicked out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like all the Oscar buzz this year would have been Dune Part 2.
Dune 2 versus Oppenheimer. I still think Oppenheimer holds up, but I think it would have gotten lost in the shuffle with the awards. It would have gotten heavily nominated, and along with the heavy praise that it's been getting. But I think it was a blessing in disguise with the strikes pushing this film back to 2024.
But you know what? We needed it because so far 2024 has just been a whole bunch of duds. You know,
Yeah, man.
we saw Argyle, we saw Madam Web. Like, you know, right now the movie doesn't have too much competition. So, you know, but it really was that good though. It was, I mean, I still think it's not for everybody. It's still, you know, like a hardcore, like, you know, kids will be going to Star Wars. Like, parents will not be taking their kids to see this movie. Like, we're not going to be seeing like Dune action figures or anything like that. I don't think it has that universal appeal. No, it's think of the subject matter in Dune. It's not gonna. It's not kid friendly. It's not a kid friendly movie.
I will say this though. At $190 million, and it's only been what, less than a week that it's been out. It's made its budget back. It's at
I'm not
so
shocked.
far, it's made $197 million worldwide.
I'm not shocked.
So
By the end of the month, this thing's gonna make, I would say, at least before Godzilla X Kong comes out, it'll probably go up to the 600 mark. Guaranteed.
I say it'll make 800.
So there you go.
By the end of its run, I'm calling it now. It's gonna be an $800 million movie.
So similar to Johnny, like I wasn't familiar with the franchise until the first Dune movie came out. You know, I didn't read any of the books going back to the 60s. I didn't watch the original 80s movie. I didn't watch the miniseries that came out
Neither did I.
on Sci-Fi in the mid-2000s. But I know, like, it definitely has a deep following. But, you know, we're obviously more on the mainstream end with the two movies. But going back to what I said in the short after we got out of the movie, like this, you know, it's a slow burn at first because it is a close to a 3-hour movie, 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think the runtime was. But, you know, it does have a great build throughout the movie, and the payoff is worth it with the epic battle scene. It was so good.
Yeah, I feel like the first movie was just like the reason why it didn't hook me because it was just all set up. Like it was just very dialogue heavy. There wasn't too much action going on. You had to like, you know, it needed to world build for you, and it took a lot of its time doing that. But now like we got like a lot of development going on. Like you saw like where like Timothée Chalamet's character was going, and it's like okay, like by the end of the movie, it's like oh shit, like what's gonna happen to him next movie? Like we got to see what's gonna happen. And then like the other like supporting characters too. Like I mean, like, I guess we could talk about the cast like in general. It's just like the cast is giant and the cast is like AAA, in my opinion.
Well,
like,
okay, I have a question. You guys want to start off with the worst of the cast or the best of the cast?
let's start off with the best.
Start off with the best. All right, go for it.
Oh, well, you start.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm telling you that my new favorite actor is Timothy Chalamet.
Oh wow.
Between watching Wonka and watching this movie, he played two complete, utter opposite characters. One is fun and zany. The other one, I felt watching that movie when he got up to the whole crowd and he started yelling at everyone.
Yeah.
I was scared. I was like, wow, this 100-pound person is just literally yelling at people who are 3 times his size, and they're scared of him.
He's the chosen one. He's the
Right.
he's the Anakin Skywalker that didn't go to the dark side.
Wow.
He's almost like
Well,
he's like both Skywalkers put together in a way, if you think about it. Like he's got that dark side to him. By the end of this movie, you don't know where he's gonna go, where he might turn out. I mean, I guess if you read the books, you know what's gonna happen to him. I don't know what's gonna happen, so nobody spoil me. But it's like but he's also Luke at the same time, that he's like the central character, and he also represents hope. That's the perfect way to put it. I give him. I mean, after this movie definitely respect him. I loved Wonka too. But I always just saw him as like the pretty boy actor, like the current like it guy in Hollywood and everything. But I gave him, after this movie, I was like, you know what? He's got a ton of range. But you know who I love in this movie that like I also like after this, I was like, wow, she's really great. Rebecca Ferguson.
Oh yeah.
She is awesome, first of all.
She played the mother.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I watched her show recently too on Apple, Silo, another great sci-fi series. But I feel like she really started to show her range in this show, because I feel like she always just had like that like more serious persona in like a lot of her other roles, and like now like like in this movie she got her role was kind of weird in this movie, but like she got like that
She's the
poison in her, and like,
she's
she
the
kinda
religious
became
figurehead.
Yeah, and it's just like, but like in order to like bring out that character, she really had to go like outside of her range into like some sort of character that we haven't seen from her before. And I thought she did like such an amazing job, like just as good as Timothy Chalamet, in my opinion.
Timothy Chalamet traded in the chocolate and the joy for sand and war.
So much sand for why? Okay, but what did you guys think about Florence Pugh
I thought
as the princess?
A little underused. I mean, she didn't really.
I thought it was going to be a bigger role.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we saw her in the beginning of the first scene of the movie, and then they cut away from her, and then we didn't see her again until like the last 45 minutes or last hour of the movie, maybe. And it's a long movie, so I mean, the last hour was like the last third of it. But she was good. But I think Austin Butler was the bigger side supporting character.
One of my small complaints, just a nitpick, but it doesn't take anything away from the movie. I think they spent a little too much time on Austin Butler when they went back to his home planet.
Really? I thought it was like character building.
It was
so we
character
could
building.
See how big of a badass he is.
Like they could have cut down on his battle scene in like the Roman
I love
Colosseum.
that scene. I was like, oh man, we're getting a gladiator scene. Hell yeah.
But yeah, it did establish him as one of the big villains.
I mean, he almost killed his brother Batista, right?
I think what he needed like an extra like scene or two earlier in the movie just to establish that he exists, because I feel like his role goes from 0 to 100 so quick, just because like when we get introduced to him, it's later on in the movie, and he's set up to become like the next central figure of his tribe or his people.
He's the heir to the Baron's to his uncle's throne.
He literally starts off in jail, and then like 2 scenes later, he's like the king. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, and he's a crazy character too. He was really good, but I think he needed like a little extra fleshing out and easing into who he was and easing into like where he ended up to make it more not believable, but I guess just more, just not as jarring.
Incredible makeup job on him. He looked very menacing.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. My only gripe on his character is, and I leaned over to Johnny during the movie and I was like, why is he pale here, but in this next scene, all of a sudden he's got like
you went from white to off-white?
Yeah, I was like, what? Did he just get a tan?
I think, I think, the scene, like the gladiator scene, I guess if it's on like their planet or wherever they're from, like everything is, ranges from like light gray to like stark white. And then like everywhere else is like has more normal colors. So maybe it's just the lighting on their planet. I don't know.
So, two characters along with the actors that had smaller roles in part 1 and then expanded to much bigger roles, Zendaya and Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem was
He's the meme.
He's the
meme
he's the
of this
comic
whole
relief
movie.
for the movie.
Yes, he is the comic relief of the movie, but not like ha ha ha, like very funny.
I know, lighthearted.
Yeah, lighthearted. Like he was the one that, oh, Madim, he's like he was making it sound like Timothy Chalamet was the godson, was
The chosen one, yeah.
chosen one, was a Jesus Christ type figure.
Right.
And he was like, oh, look at him. He's so humble that he doesn't want to admit that he's just like, it was not funny, haha, but like you could smirk and you can chuckle at what he was doing.
Because it was like part of his character, and that's
Right.
something that like Marvel hasn't gotten right in its humor in
Correct.
a long
Yes.
time. It's just that he wasn't like yuck like just jokes for no reason type of like
wasn't
funny.
Thor.
He was funny because like he was just so like superstitious and so religious that he sees Timothy Chalamet like basically as a Jesus prophet,
Right.
and anything like Timothy Chalamet lifts a finger, and he's like, oh, as it was written. And it's just like, everybody, you just couldn't help but like laugh because it was like everything that he did. Like, he just like, oh, this is how it was prophesized. And
It felt realistic because
Yeah.
when you really have this situation. And
but it was who he was,
Exactly.
like it was his character. So like, it was very, very clever way of using
I
humor.
loved him. He was great.
Yeah,
in that
he was
movie.
right up there with Rebecca Ferguson with me.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Timothy Chalamet.
Definitely a far cry from the killer evil that he was in No Country for Old Men.
Right. Right. Yeah, totally different. What did you guys think of Batista? I mean, he had less of a role in this movie as opposed to the first movie.
Well, him flipping out, I just like you and me seen that before with him when in his wrestling character back in his wrestling days. Dave Batista definitely established himself as an actor, and this is himself from his wrestling past. I thought he was gonna have a bigger role the way the previous movie ended and leading into this one. I thought he would be more of the big bad leading the army, but obviously.
He got demoted.
He got demoted because he kept failing because the Freeman kept bombing his ships and kept losing. And was Austin Butler's character his brother?
His little brother, yeah.
Yeah,
They're all related. Him and Skarsgård too.
Yeah,
Like,
Skarsgård was the uncle, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean I liked Dave Bautista's character. I mean I liked him in the first movie too, but I feel like he should have had like somewhat more of like an honorable send off. But
Actually,
he
hold
was like humiliated so badly by like the end of his story arc.
But I think that's great though, because what happened? We got Thanos versus Drax, right?
Josh Brolin was
Josh
back. Yeah.
Brolin. Like okay. What did Batista's character, which I forget his name, I don't remember what his name was in the movie.
Beast, I think it was Beast Robin or something.
Right. So what he did to Josh Brolin's family and everything that happened to him, he got the scar on his face. So the fact that Josh Brolin's character comes out of nowhere towards the end of the movie and just takes care of him, like I felt like there was going to be a bigger fight scene.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that it was like, I'm doing this for, and he just guts him and that's it. Like, it was great to me. It was like, we don't need to see this big party of a fight in order to understand what's going on. Like, he just went in and he was like, this is what's, going to happen to you because of what you did to me. I think that was great. I thought his send-off in the movie was great.
One thing we could touch upon, but yes, very political with a lot of things, but way more religious overtones.
And political, yeah.
But that's what made it more like less accessible of a movie. Like I said, the kids are not going to be, parents aren't going to be bringing their kids to see this movie just because of things like that. You know what I mean?
How about the twist? And the twist for us because we don't know the books. That Timothy Chalamet, Paul is the grandchild of the Baron, and that Jessica is the daughter, and and then,
Paul, I am your Baron.
and he killed his grandfather when they invaded his castle, which they got back, but how about I can only imagine the kind of hand-to-hand combat training that Timothy Chalamet and Austin Butler went through in that epic scene.
That was such a great fight scene. That was another scene I wanted to list too in the beginning because that was like, okay, great. We're not getting like a CGI punch pew pew fest. Like this is just a raw like hand-to-hand combat scene that's choreographed and it's all just in front of your face.
No lit up hands, Johnny.
Yeah, right. I'm just so sick of all that shit. So like that was just something else that I was just like, man, this movie is just doing all the right things. But that final fight scene between Austin and Timothy, that like you're waiting the entire movie for that, because I thought that was just such a sick ass fight scene.
One thing that I was a little surprised about is that I get he's older now. He's 80 years old.
I was just about to say that.
That we hear about the Emperor off screen for all of part one, and then he's behind the invasion of the House of Atreides. And then Christopher Walken was only in a handful of scenes as the Emperor. What were you going to say to that?
Well, that's what I was going to bring up the fact that what did you guys think of Christopher Walken as the Emperor?
I thought he was just okay.
He was like a man of few words. I don't think he had too much going on. He was just there to just be, like, yep, that's the Emperor, all right? Like
Yeah, I feel like it was a waste of Christopher Walken's.
Yeah, and I kind of
talents.
felt like the few lines he did have, I feel like he just kind of quickly just read them off and just went off to whatever
Yeah, I
else,
didn't feel
what
like he
other
was-
job he had to do. Like I felt like he was almost like performing like a theater actor on stage. Like just kind of he had like his paper with the lines in front of him, just like reading him. Like that's just like the vibe that he
Like
had.
they were written on his wrist, and he was like, "Yes, so."
Yeah, right.
and not to knock.
Yeah, he was one of the weaker parts.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Not to knock him, it seems like you could insert another actor into
Yeah.
that, and that maybe not saying a lesser or a bigger name.
You could have gone John Voight. They're about the same age. You could have got him.
Yeah.
to do-
Steve,
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi, just put it in.
Right.
Buscemi.
Wow, I don't know about Steve Buscemi.
I know, but
Adam Sandler.
What did you got? Okay.
What do you guys think of Zendaya?
I was just
Oh, okay.
gonna-
Yeah, I was
literally
gonna say
just
before
gonna
we
say
forget
that.
her.
I was just trying to think of something nice because honestly, my opinion, I wasn't a fan of Zendaya.
I thought
I
her
was not a fan of her
You're
let
not
me- let me
a fan
rephrase.
of her character, not the
No,
performance.
no. I'm a fan of the character, not a fan of her performance. I
Really?
felt like she was just meh.
See, I it's the
But
opposite.
I also
of
feel
me.
like that about her when she was in any other movie, like in all three Spider-Man movies. Like I don't know what people see in her. I don't.
I think she's a fine actress.
I think she's okay.
I just think her character was just like, it didn't need to be there. But I guess he needs some sort of like moral compass.
Well,
but
she was the
but that could have been
Stillwater
anybody.
of
That
whatever.
could have been Rebecca Ferguson's character, like his mother. Like it.
Don't
like
make it
somebody,
weird.
No. But I'm not saying romantically. I'm just saying somebody to keep him grounded, like in his personality. Somebody that keeps him away from the darkness. Like that could just be any character. And having her be it is just like, like it didn't, like she doesn't need to be there, in my opinion.
no
But
shit. Well, I think the character.
obviously, it's important going off the books. I get it. I'm just saying, as far as a movie goes, she didn't feel as necessary as everybody
disagree
else.
on that.
I disagree with you guys. I thought she was really good in her role. Maybe she's not the best actor on screen with the cast that we had, but she was that emotional support, the partner for Paul, the love interest, because he kept seeing her in the dreams and the visions in part one, and we didn't get her character fully towards the end of part one, and I felt like she shined more and she had a much bigger role, and I thought she did really well for what we got in her performance. But her character definitely got the shit end of the stick towards the end, because Paul is going to take the hand of the Emperor's daughter to unite it. But
Well, see, that's the thing, though. He was using her.
yeah,
He used her.
Right.
He used her to get what he wanted. And like
That-
you guys were saying, like, I said it during the movie. I was like, ooh, he's Breaking Bad. He's literally going from the light side and he's going to the dark side. That's literally, I said that during the movie. That's what he's doing. And he used everyone.
okay, he's
to
not
get
Vader yet. He's still good aspects of Anakin Skywalker.
Right, he's Anakin going into the Vader part, but that's also in the movie. He was also saying like, I don't want to go. What was it, south? Because if I go south, then I see a lot of people dying.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? Like they're foreseeing that he's going to start a religious war. So me personally, Zendaya, meh. Her character, I loved her character because she was all for him, loving him, this and that, and then to the end where he was just like what's his face, Skarsgård, not Skarsgård, when Austin Butler's character was like, oh, he's your pet, and she didn't answer, right? He said that this is your pet, right?
Yeah.
So, and he was just like, whatever, and
Well,
ended up, killing him. But the point is that he didn't care. He was
Well-
like, I'm taking Florence Pugh as my wife.
Well, it's possible that his mind got corrupted. Keep in mind that he drank that
I was just about to say
that magic potion that was
water of
supposed
life, or what it's
yeah,
called?
it was supposed to kill him. Only women were supposed to have it, but since he's supernatural of his own, because from his mother's side, who's like a creature from a cult of some magic, but it didn't kill him because he's the chosen one. He's magical power, so his mind and his reasoning all got probably corrupted, and
Well, we don't know that.
and his thirst maybe not fully yet, his thirst for vengeance to avenge his father for what the Baron did, that all took centerpiece.
Well, yeah, that was revenge, yeah.
And Zendaya's character is like, whatever, you're not important. And and then he just saw getting with or uniting with
But it got stopped.
so Florence Pugh to unite her to prove that he's the new leader, the new emperor, but he got rejected by the houses with the news that he got. So that we see him ending the movie, going off to war, leading the ships, and obviously that's gonna lead into the third movie. But but you mentioned a surprise casting.
Yeah, so I was very surprised when we got Anya Taylor-Joy
Yeah.
out of nowhere, because I didn't even know she was in the movie, right? We got her out of nowhere playing the sister, and I was like, wait, what?
Her role was kept secret.
Yeah, but we only got like a singular like cameo scene of her, like,
Right,
like
but
a
her
premonition.
voice, right,
Yeah.
but her voice when the baby was talking inside Jessica.
So she was voicing the baby.
Oh, that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. She had that scene. I totally forgot about
and
that.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
realize it, because in my head I was just like, oh, whatever. Like I ignored.
Like it's just a voice.
Yeah, it was just a voice,
Um,
but it's still weird.
Yeah, the mother. That was the mother went through that. Like she was given a choice to become the new religious figurehead of the group, but because of her magical powers, that triggered a communication with an unborn child.
Well, the magical power she got only because they made her the mother or something like
They call them like the Mother Reverend or something.
Mother Reverend, right?
Right.
Yeah. And you got those powers because you drank that water.
But no,
Right.
she already had power from her. She comes from that sisterhood.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Remember, she kind of had like the Jedi like powers with the voice and her
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. And you brought up the voice. I'm so glad you brought up the voice. That scene where Timothy Chalamet just
Silence!
yells, he yells that, because if you remember in the first movie, right, that lady was yelling at him to put his hand inside the bottle.
And they have
Yeah.
to like listen.
yeah, you have to listen. And when he did that to her, I was like, I guarantee you that lady shit her pants. There's no way when you in a previous movie, you were the one that was like, I'm the head, she's in charge, right? And then all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere and he tells you basically to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I think
As a huge like master student has surpassed the master.
Right? Yeah.
she was her and her cult of witches, or were the real ones pulling the strings. They were the ones that had influence on the emperor and the baron to go after to unite the
Atreides.
war. Like when the emperor's daughter Florence Hube's like questioned, like, did you do this? He's like, of course I did, And she sent one of her henchwomen to basically, mind control and get a baby from Austin Butler's character.
Right.
And you see them hitting it off, and then not even a minute, 2 minutes later, she's already carrying a baby.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that she just almost kind of like took advantage of him sexually. She was like, and then like she was like reporting back, like talking about him, and she was like, "Yeah, he's sexually vulnerable." I'm like, you think like yeah, the guy was about to walk away, and he just like slowly walked into your room, and he was like, "I guess I'll follow." No, but I actually thought that was a good scene because like it showed he does have like a submissive. Not submissive, but like a I guess you could say vulnerable side. That was the word to use. But yeah, that maybe that's his weakness. I think he'll come back for sure next movie, right? Like I feel like he's gonna have like a. Oh no, he's dead. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
We're already talking spoilers
Yeah,
anyway.
No, it's
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, you're not gonna.
I totally forgot the outcome of that fight because that fight was so damn good.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to end.
You know what though? If they do bring him back, it might be as flashbacks,
Yeah,
possibly. But look, as people who have no idea about the books, I've seen the original movies, but I saw them as a kid, so I I don't really remember as much as I should. Watching this movie made me remember a lot of things, and I never watched the series like Pancakes brought up before. I didn't even know there was a series.
A miniseries,
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't know there was a miniseries, or else I probably would have watched that. But as people who have never read the books or any of the other stuff that they've put out, I really enjoyed this, and this is why in the short I said that take note, Disney. This is how you write a space opera. Like,
Yeah.
this was great. The storytelling that Denis Villeneuve did, the visuals, the cinematography, like, and guess what? Pancakes is gonna bring it up. Who did the score for this movie, Pancakes?
Hans Zimmer.
Come on,
The man himself.
You got one of the all-time greats
If you
doing
make
this.
if you make a holy trinity of
Composers?
movie composers, him, John Williams,
Yep.
and Danny Elfman.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
you could definitely add others, but those are the top three that come to mind. I mean, he's such a fan of the original book. He turned down a chance to work with Christopher Nolan on his movie Tenet to do this.
He made the right choice.
I agree.
I
totally agree.
I would have passed on Tenet myself.
but
Yeah.
Beside the point, though.
but getting back to the story itself, I stick by what I said in the short that this is a drama that's taking place in a sci-fi paradise that
I'd
yeah,
call it more of a sci-fi wasteland, technically, with the setting, but
well the visual
desert,
yeah.
it's paradise to a sci-fi fan. I get you.
I mean, yeah, they're in the middle, smack dab in a desert with war, genocide happened, giant worms coming in. That's the secret to life, at least for them.
Right.
But so much positivity, like any little negative things. I mean, do you guys have any minor nitpicks at it that bug you or bothered you?
Off the top of my head, I can't. Other than Zendaya, I sound like a hater. I'm not.
That was the only thing that bothered you so badly.
Yeah, and the fact that Christopher Walken was
He was just like
underused,
he was
I
just a
think.
figurehead.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Yeah. But I mean, every other scene we got, like it was, like I said, like any type of scene you can think of, like it was probably there.
Yeah.
Like the heavy hand-to-hand combat, unedited, no CGI, fight scene. We have like a gladiator coliseum scene. We got like the surfing scene with the worms and everything. And speaking of which, did any of you guys get the popcorn buckets? Do you know anybody got the popcorn buckets? Did they have a good time with the popcorn buckets? I'm asking for a friend.
I have no idea. See, here's the problem, guys. When we go to this is not sponsored. When we go to the movie theaters, we usually go to the Alamo, and Alamo didn't have those buckets, so we were shit out of luck. So maybe we should go to AMC. I don't know.
But
Which one of you guys wants to sponsor us, AMC or Alamo?
Do we get a free popcorn bucket?
Do we get free tickets
But
to see the movies?
But apparently those popcorn buckets were gone within like the first.
Yeah, because
not even the first day. The first day didn't even.
They
finish.
became a meme overnight. The jokes that people are saying about them, like that I'm alluding to. Come on.
One cool thing I'll mention that the internet dug up that wasn't a meme or implying certain things with a movie object. A photo taken in 2018 of Timothée Chalamet on the New York City subway reading the original Dune book.
Hey,
I mean,
did his research.
Yeah. You have to. I mean,
he fully embraced this role, and I agree with you said at the beginning of this discussion for this movie. Like and I mentioned in the short, like he showed his full acting chops. He's gonna be one of the best actors of this generation, if not already.
If he keeps doing things like this,
Yeah,
he is going to be amazing. And you know what? I don't know, but do you think that this could throw up an Oscar, him being an Oscar contender for best actor?
Best lead actor? Yeah.
Best lead actor?
Why not? Definitely not. I'd be surprised if he wasn't nominated.
Because we've never. I've seen a few of his movies, but I've never seen him like that.
No, he gave it his all in this movie.
I agree.
And like I said, compared to all the trash that we've been seeing this year, I mean, like I said, Dune is going to be getting Oscar nominations and Oscar wins like left
But-
and right. It's not. I don't think it's a question. The only question is like how many it's going to win. You know?
And it's I just hope it just doesn't get lost in the shuffle because on the Oscar calendar it's coming out around the same time of the Oscars of this year. So by the time
No, I don't think so. I think, look, they're talking about the Oscars now for 2023.
Right.
So
No,
forget
it
about-
passed its window. It's not
Yeah,
going
it's
to
past
be.
its window,
Yeah,
so
but
it's
it-
not going to be in it. But you're going to see throughout the whole year, just like with Oppenheimer, everyone's going to compare it to that movie.
Right.
Just like as we saw Oppenheimer, and then we saw Children of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, Killers of the Flower Moon. We compared it to Oppenheimer. Same thing's going to happen with Dune. The next movie that comes out is going to be compared to Dune.
Right. I guess I'm just questioning the timing because Oppenheimer came out smack dab in the middle of the summer box office, perfect timing, and this movie's coming out in the first quarter of 2024, and we don't know what else is gonna be so
Come out?
Yeah.
I mean, think of like movies that we do know that are coming out still this year. Like, what's gonna?
I think Beetlejuice 2.
Well, we're talking about
Nostalgia factor maybe, but as a production, no. I mean,
we're
Off the top of my head, I can't think of
Godzilla
anything.
vs Kong isn't going to touch this movie,
No.
and I'm looking forward to that movie.
And neither is Ghostbusters.
Well, they're gonna be
or
Yeah.
Bad Boys 4.
Yeah.
I'm
The
sure.
Crow.
No,
That's what it is.
I'm sure a lot of them is gonna be blockbusters for sure, but what's gonna match up to this? What's on the horizon? This is definitely the measuring stick for movies.
Exactly.
Well, there is another sci-fi part 2 movie that's coming out that you guys might not be remembering right now.
Ghostbusters.
That I think could take a lot of notes from Dune 2 is Zack Snyder's own Rebel Moon.
Oh God!
Oh, stop it. Rebel Moon Part 2
Let's
is not
see.
going to be anywhere near close.
I was going to ask. I was like, you guys remember Rebel Moon?
Stop. No way. No.
Yeah.
Compare this movie to that. It's like night and day what to do and what not to do with a sci-fi movie.
Imagine as a joke. You said it as a joke, but imagine that's reality though. That Rebel Moon Part 2 is going to be just as good as Dune.
No.
I will eat my invisible hat if it ends up being good.
But we should definitely give ultimate credit to the man that brought this movie to life, the director, the co-writer of this film.
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, this was definitely a passion project because he was a huge fan of this franchise. And
you could tell.
Yeah.
You could tell every single frame. I can't say this enough. It was beautifully shot.
Oh, the cinematography.
It
If it's
was
going
like
to win an
eye
Oscar,
porn.
it's going to win an Oscar for cinematography.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
It was eye porn. You saw that. You saw everything. Look.
And it's cinematography of a desert scene. We
Right.
we complain about Star Wars all the time being on Tatooine too much,
Yes.
but this movie made it work.
It made it look better.
Yes,
Yeah,
it did.
that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
It made
Without
it
a
look
doubt,
better.
yeah.
Like I wasn't like I didn't feel like, oh, we're back at Tatooine again. Like
Well, you know what? It's like Tatooine is always like, it's like if Kansas was a desert, like there are no dunes. There's just flatlands everywhere. There's no wildlife. There's no
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
Here, there's like, there's civilizations. You got like wildlife, like the worms and all that stuff.
Yep.
And it just, it did a great job showing how lived in and like realistic this seemed to be on screen. So yeah, again, things to take notes off of from other studios.
I don't know if riding giant worms in the desert's realistic. But
Well, I mean, yeah.
Riding giant worms while hooking their flesh nostrils and
That's it.
using them to steer.
Yep,
that
I
was
agree.
a little weird, but yeah, it was. But still, like they didn't have to go into that kind of detail. They just could have been like, yeah, just hook it and you'll be able to steer it. Like they show you like the biology of the worms, like the little details like that in general. I think like is what makes the difference in this movie.
Since you brought that up, there was one gripe I do have about those worms.
Don't say it.
How in God's name did all these people jump onto the worm right after?
Oh, okay.
Right after Timothy Chalamet just got control of it. Like, how do you get all these people on there? Did
He
just say like,
inspired them?
okay, little worm, stop now, take it easy, let
Serenity
everybody-
now,
Yes.
serenity now.
Oosa. Like, what did you do to like? All right, whatever.
I thought
now
you were
I'm
going to
just
say something
nitpicking.
else that you had a gripe with, but I'm not going to get into it.
No, but anything else? I think that's pretty much it, right, guys?
Yeah. If you're not a Dune fan, get through the first movie. You might not hook yourself right away, but Dune 2 is just like a cinematic spectacle. Like I said, it's a whole ton of movie in a movie, and everything that movies should be doing right, you'll be seeing it in this movie for sure.
The gauntlet has laid down for best movie of the year. It's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what they're saying. And guys, let us know. Did you guys see it? Did you not see it? Do you want to see it? Did you get the popcorn bucket? Did you use it? Let us know. You know,
Use extra
send
popcorn
pictures.
butter.
Yeah.
Use extra butter.
Don't send us pictures. We don't want to see the pictures.
Nope.
Just let us know about your stories. Throw them down in the comment section below. So, guys, that's pretty much it. Oh, do you guys have any shows that you guys have been seeing lately that we want to touch upon, or is it pretty much the same as last time?
Same as last time.
New episode of Shogun I still have to watch, so I'm looking forward to that. Still going strong.
I don't know why, but I started watching, Seinfeld again. No idea why, but started doing it again. But it's great. It's Seinfeld. Oh, and I saw Curb.
And watch Avatar, the live action of The Last Airbender on Netflix.
Yeah, link to that review in our show
In our
notes.
previous video.
Yeah. So with that said, don't forget, all our links are in the description below. Also our social media, all our Spotify links are down low. And if there's anything else, just write a comment. Let us know what you want and what you don't want to see. With that said, guys, I think we're out, right?
Yep.
Roll credits.